Hello viewers, hope you all are fine. So this is Dr. Sudha and today I welcome you all to a new video in which we will discuss about the stakeholders participation and corporate social responsibilities. Okay. So as you all know that we are continuing the classes of unit 3. Okay, so it is the 11th number of class. And prior to this I have already completed 2 units and 10 classes of unit 3. Okay, so everything is stored there in my playlist. So there are separate playlist for English medium students and Odia medium students, so you can go there and watch all my previous videos. And this channel is particularly based on your AECC1 environment study and disaster management. That is a compulsory paper for all the plus 3 first semester students, maybe BA, BCom or BSc stream. Okay, and in all colleges, government college, aided college and private college. Okay, so you all are bound to learn this paper, and you have to appear two examination. One is internal examination and another is your semester examination. Okay, total examination of 100 marks. So internal examination will carry 20 marks and your university examination will carry 80 marks. Okay, so this is the question pattern, and in my video also in my channel I have already upload the videos regarding your question pattern, previous year questions. Okay, everything is there in this channel. So this is the single channel and each and every solution of this AECC 1 environment study and disaster management paper. Okay, so today we will discuss on stakeholders participation, and if you will watch the video from first to end, then you will able to know about what is the meaning of stakeholders. Okay, then what is their role in disaster management, then who are stakeholders, then what is a stakeholder. Okay, then how they participate in the disaster management, then and the steps in engaging stakeholder, then why they are engaged. Okay, and repeat process, that is stakeholders engagement process. Then your in different your community or during different disaster management steps, how they are and why they are appointed. Okay, and then the role of media. Okay, and then NGOs, then private sector, then educational institutions, international agencies, everything will be discussed from first to last. Okay, so please watch the video from first to last and make and keep one pen and paper with you, so that you can make a small note from this video. That will help you a lot for your examination purpose. Okay, so now we will discuss about this stakeholders participation. What do we mean by stakeholder? What is corporate social responsibilities? So before going to discussion, I would like to request you all that please subscribe this channel. Okay, and share among your friends, so that uh, you and your friends can be benefited from this e-learning contents. Okay, so let us discuss. Let me enlarge the screen. Okay, now it is okay. So let us see the various stakeholders in disaster management. So what is a disaster and how it is managed, and what are the disaster management cycle? Everything is discussed in earlier classes. Everything is there stored in the videos, earlier videos. You can go and watch there if you have not watched till yet. Okay, so I will not take much more time with discussing all these things again and again. So let us see what is various stakeholder. So according to UN or DRR. DRR means disaster risk reduction. Okay, there are several key parties that play major roles in the disaster management plan process. Okay, and these players or parties, they include communities, like mainly those that are vulnerable, means those are the basic community or basic people, those are affected by the disaster. Then second players are national government. Okay, government of India. Then local government means suppose PRIs and ULBs in India, and institutions and organizations which include CSO, means your NGOs. Okay, and media means print and electronic, that is TV. Okay, and scientific communities like IMD. IMD means Indian Meteorological Department. Okay, then ISRO, that is Indian Space Research Organization. Then INCOES, then NRSC. These are all scientific research organizations. They are also involved as your stakeholders during disaster management. Then now we should learn who are stakeholders. Okay, so the stakeholders in emergency risk management are those individuals or organizations that may contribute to be affected by or be involved in the planning, response or recovery from an emergency situation. Okay, so you all know that when disaster will happen, then emergency situation will arise, means some people, their life and property will be at risk, hence they should be evacuated, they should be given proper relief. Okay, then reconstruction of their homes. Okay, all these are emergency situations. So stakeholders are, they are nothing but they may be one individual or any organizations. Okay, and their major role is they contribute something, contribute to be affected by or be involved in the planning, response or recovery. So they will accommodate themselves, or they will uh, take part in the process of planning, response or recovery. What are these? These are all the steps of your disaster management, isn't it? So during disaster management, we have already learned that we have different steps like your pre-disaster management, during disaster management or preparedness, then post-disaster preparedness, isn't it? So during all these steps, the stakeholders, means the stakeholders may be one individual or any organization, they can take part in every steps. Okay, so what is a stakeholder then? Any person, I told you that any person or group or organization with a particular interest in a policy or program. Okay, so examples: government agencies, beneficiaries, policymakers, funding agencies, providers or civil society, researchers. Okay, so all these are one stakeholders. Okay, so I just give you some content and discussing it. You just write down your note, it will be better for you. Okay, then stakeholder participation or stakeholder engagement and stakeholder involvement is the interaction between two or more stakeholders in policy making, development projects and decision making in disaster risk reduction education. Okay, so the main motto is your disaster risk reduction, and the stakeholder engagement is to reduce this disaster. Okay, and how they will do it? By interaction between two or more interactions uh, in different steps like policy making, then development projects, decision making. Okay, Then stakeholder participation is the process through which people with common interest, means their interest is common, okay, that is stakeholders influence and share control over development initiatives, decisions and resources that affect them, okay. The stakeholder engagement is the systematic identification. Then what is the stakeholder engagement? How they will engage in the process? Means they will identify the problem systematically. Okay. Hence, it is said that it is, or engagement is the systematic identification, analysis, planning and implementation of actions. Okay. Designed to influence stakeholders. So, a stakeholder engagement strategy identifies the needs of key groups, and the sponsor plays a vital role in ensuring those business needs are met or are met. Okay. So, this is your regarding stakeholder engagement. Then what are the steps in engaging stakeholders and why we need the engagement of stakeholders? Okay, so there are different steps how the stakeholders will be engaged. So first one is identify important stakeholders and their interests. Okay, this is a basic duty, that identify important stakeholders, means at a particular situation which stakeholder will play better result. Okay. Then second is your assess the power and influence of stakeholders in relation to the project, means the stakeholder that we will choose will be fit in the particular project or not, that is the assess the power and influence of stakeholders in relation to the particular project. Then third is your determine appropriate project response to each stakeholder or group. Okay. Then next is your plan which stakeholders will participate in the project cycle, when and how. Then next is your identify stakeholders risk. Then next is develop strategy for building participation and stakeholder commitment. So all these are these different steps how we will choose a stakeholder for engaging in disaster management. Then why we should need the engagement of stakeholders, how we will get better result. They or government want to engage stakeholders because for achieving or for maintaining transparency. Then second is better targeting. Okay. Then is your better information, then improves risk management, then increases efficiencies and accountability. For all these reasons we need the engagement of stakeholders during disaster management. Then look the process. So this is already discussed here. Process, it is just a flowchart of that earlier discussed thing, means identify and assess stakeholder, develop engagement plan and technique, implement engagement plan, means plan, then assess the engagement process, respond to engagement results, measure and report progress, then set engagement objectives. Okay. So next is your different stakeholders in disaster management. So legal institutional stakeholders, there are some stakeholders, those are legally approved. Okay. Like your NIDM, NDRF, they are also government institutions, isn't it? They are also one part of the stakeholders. Then your central government, then your state government, then your district administration, then your panchayat, municipalities, each are one stakeholders. Okay. Then your state disaster management authority, that is SDMA, National Disaster Management Authority NDMA, then district disaster management authority DDMA. We have already discussed what are these NDMA, SDMA and DDMAs, isn't it? So these are your then National Executive Committee. Okay. then your state executive committee. All these are your steps of your legal institutional stakeholder. They are legally approved and government stakeholders. Then other stakeholders, excluding these government institutions, there are also other stakeholders like your NGOs, then your media, then your community participation, as I told you, then your private sector stakeholders are also there, then educational institutions, international agencies. Okay, they are all one stakeholders, and they can take responsibilities to or for better disaster management processes. Then let us see how these stakeholders play in disaster management. Okay, first we will discuss about how community helps. Okay, then you know that we have 4 stages like your preparedness, then response, recovery, and prevention mitigation, isn't it? So one community can help in disaster management in all these 4 aspects, starting from preparedness up to your prevention and mitigation. How? So first, during insurance, means property, crop, livestock, etc., uh, they can help in this process, means property, crop, livestock, preparedness, or in for making insurance, then equipped with rescue materials, means first aid kit. Okay, then hazard information. So in all these prepared steps, community can help the needy people. Then response means self evacuation, then assist in search and rescue, because community means the local group of people. They have the better knowledge regarding their society, their people, their villages, their homes, okay, their location. Hence they can help the neighbors or the victims very easily and quickly. Okay, then maintaining public order. In all these steps, the community can help the people affected by disaster. Then for recovery, they can, or community can give the victims moral support, then revitalizing neighborhoods, then for social justice. Okay, then in prevention and mitigation step, community can help the affected people by construction of disaster resistant houses, afforestation, soil conservation. Okay, so in this way community can help. Second is your media. How media help can help? So as I told that all these other stakeholders, they can help the disaster affected people in all these 4 steps, means preparedness, response, recovery, and prevention and mitigation. Okay, so what media can do during disaster? So they can inform, educate, empower, and engage communities, then disseminating vital information, hazard warning. Okay, we have already discussed about early warning system, isn't it? So media can give early warning through the televisions or your newspapers, so that the people can be easily and quickly prepared for the coming disaster. Okay, then you're gathering and transmitting information about the disaster affected areas, means response. In this way also media can help. Then for recovery, the media can help the people by counseling programs, then avenues for income generation and livelihood restoration. And next, for prevention and mitigation, media can aware the public through different programs, then incite officials to adopt disaster risk reduction strategies. Okay, then come to NGO, how NGO can play a role during disaster management. So as I told you that in all these 4 steps, every stakeholder can help the affected people. Okay, so NGO can locate the evacuation sites, then map evacuation routes, then community training, then mock drills. All these things can be provided as a preparedness to the people those are to be affected by the disaster. Okay, then in response phase, NGO can supply food and water, then medicinal aid, then search and rescue, okay, to the victims or to the affected peoples. Then NGOs can organize one relief camp to help the affected people for providing different your clothes or food. Then NGO can also give physico-social support to the affected people so that their moral strength will be boosted, isn't it? Then mental health services. Then NGO can play one important role, like they can organize awareness programs, then environmental studies, then preservation of flora and fauna. Okay, then how private sector can help. So the same in 4 steps, what they do, okay, or what they can do. Let us discuss. So the private sector, they can developing innovative products like your early warning system, communications, insurance. Okay, because as you know, different private sectors they are working on these areas like insurance sector, communication sector. Okay, so they can help in a better way to the affected people. Then private sector can also direct assist to affected communities like in food supply, medical aid, shelter. Then they also help the people after the disaster by providing employment generation, then skill development programs, then counseling. Okay, and at last the private sector has also an important role like your adoption of disaster resistance construction, then environmental studies, preservation of flora and fauna. Okay, they can also play a great role in all these aspects. Then what educational institutions, how they can help in this disaster management. Okay, so as I told that educational institution is also one stakeholders. Okay, so in all these phases, how the educational institution play one important role, let us discuss. So educational institution can arrange or organize training programs, they can organize mock drills, they can build resource inventory. Okay, then they can rescue and provide rescue and relief support. Then school and college premises can be used as an emergency shelter. Okay, then for during the disaster, the people they need food. Okay, so the educational institutions can be used as a community kitchen. Okay, means where food will be prepared and will be distributed among the people. Then next is your the important thing is educational institutions can provide physico-socio counseling. Then they can also give moral support to the affected people. Then they can generate awareness through seminars, workshops, and different types plays. Okay. Then international agencies, so international agencies they also play important role during your disaster management, like they can prepare hazard literacy, then your technology and information sharing, then relief aid, technical support, skilled manpower assistance. Okay, then they can help the affected people by financing reconstruction activities. Then they can assist nations in framing disaster reduction strategies, then conservation programs. Okay, so all these are the role of international agencies as a stakeholder during the disaster management process. Okay, Then India is currently seeing the biggest ever pandemic wherein it loses thousands of lives every day. Okay, the natural calamities impact millions of people across the country, isn't it? Leaving behind a trail of heavy loss of lives, property, not only lives but disaster affect the property, livelihoods. Okay, the losses due to the disaster trend to outweigh the development gains in the many parts of the country. Okay, because as we know in the earlier classes when we discuss about the vulnerability of disasters by different parts of the of our country, so there we discuss which part of our country vulnerable to which type of disaster, okay, and how much percent of our landmass is vulnerable to which kind of disaster. Okay, so we know that in different parts of our country different types of disasters is frequent and people are vulnerable to that type of disaster. So in recent years the severity and frequency of natural disasters have risen manifold, isn't it? So resulting in increased human and economic losses. So such disasters affect households, communities, small and medium enterprises which bear a high proportion of the losses, isn't it? Okay, I think you can understand it properly. If any problem will arise, you just simply make me one or give me one message in the comment box and I will again appear and again clear your doubts. Okay, so India has been reacting to its approach towards natural calamities with resources spent on the relief, rehabilitation and construction efforts, isn't it? But being the second most populated country, you know that India is the second most populated country after the China, isn't it? So being the second most populated country, the government alone cannot work that efficiently. If we will say that government will do everything, it is not at all possible because India is the second most populated country. So to manage each and every part of the country and to take care of each and every person is not at all possible. Okay, so thus here comes the role of the corporates that makes a big difference in the relief work, isn't it? So the CSR activities, okay, means corporate social responsibility, CSR activities of the corporates play a pivotal role, means basic role in the post disaster relief, rehabilitation and reconstruction efforts in the affected areas. Okay, so the corporate social responsibilities contribution in developmental work through employee contribution, funds or donations, okay, make it easy for people to get back on track. Okay, so recognizing the importance of integrating the corporate sector in disaster management, the government of India has included all disaster relief expenditure as part of the corporate social responsibilities contribution. Okay, so for many kinds of your corporate sectors, a fund is released by the government or a fund is prepared, that is known as corporate social responsibility fund or contribution, that during the disaster the corporate sector they will provide this to the affected people. Okay, so corporate social responsibility uh, states the relationship between business and the larger society. Okay, so what is the corporate social responsibility? Means the relationship between corporate sector and social sector. Okay, means corporate sector has also some responsibility toward the society. Then CSR can be defined as a concept whereby companies voluntarily decide, voluntarily means they themselves, okay, decide to respect and protect the interest of a broad range of stakeholders and to contribute to a cleaner environment and a better society through active participation. Okay, so corporations have a degree of responsibilities not only for the economic consequences of their activities but they also for the social and environmental implications. Okay, so this is sometimes referred to as a triple bottom line. Okay, what is this called as? Triple bottom line approach that considers the economic, social and environmental aspects of corporate activity. Okay, then let us see the condition, what much or how much amount of this contribution is made by this corporate sector. So corporate social responsibility policy has become a common practice nowadays. Okay. So most of the companies have come forward in various um, kinds of disasters and CSR work. Most companies have long practiced some form of corporate social responsibility and environmental responsibility with the broad goal. What is the goal or what is the goal of these corporate sectors? Goal of contributing to the well-being of society. Okay, means what amount they are earning, a part will be contributed to the society for their well-being. But nowadays there is increasing pressure to show CSR as a business routine that has to deliver the best result. Having a CSR policy of the company enhances the reputation of the company. Okay, so if the company is taking part in this CSR policy, its reputation will increase. Okay, so contributes to the company's financial results and help the community at large. So the companies must refocus their CSR activities on fundamental goals and provide a systematic process, okay, for bringing coherence and discipline. Then according to the section 135, okay, it is one important thing, please remember it, that according to the section 135 of corporate social responsibility policy rule 2014 made CSR mandatory. Okay, so this corporate society or social responsibility is a mandatory one for a company having a net worth of Rs 500 crore or more. Okay, so whose turnover is 500 crore or more than that. For that type of company, this CSR is a mandatory. Okay, according to section 135 of Corporate Social Responsibility Policy Rule 2014. Then second is whose turnover is 1000 crore or more. Okay, the net profit of Rs 5 crores or more. So under these three circumstances, for a company, the CSR is mandatory. Means this company has to contribute some fund to the society for its well-being. What are these three terms? Like the company have a net worth of 500 crores or more. Then second condition is the company's turnover if it is crossing more than 1000 crore. And third is net if the company's net profit is Rs 5 crores or more. Okay. So the companies meeting the said criteria had to spend at least 2%. Here is the criteria that how much amount they will contribute to the society for their well-being. So they will contribute at least 2% of net profit on CSR activities. Okay. So enumerated under Schedule 7. Okay.
So Schedule 7, non-compliance CSR was when a publishable offence. Since then, the spending on CSR by the corporates has increased notably. According to a survey, companies spent 47% higher in 2018 than in 2014-15. Okay, so if the corporate sector, they will not spend or only spend 2% of their profit, then it will be a non-compliance CSR is a punishable offense. That's why the after 2016 17 the percent, okay, or the spending amount on CSR is increased manifold. That is, it has achieved 75% higher in 2018 than 14-15. Okay, and that is around 7,400 crores. Okay, the listed companies of India spend around 10,000 crore in different programs. It varies from educational programs, skill development, social welfare, means under which type of program the corporate sectors or companies will invest their money. Okay, so they can invest their money in organizing different educational programs, then skill development, then social welfare, in health sector, environmental protection, etc. Okay. In 2019-20, means recently, the PM Relief Fund, you must know that we have one Prime Minister Relief Fund. Okay, that saw an increase of 139% in corporate social responsibility contribution. The education sector received the highest funding. So who has received the highest funding? The educational sector, that is 38%, followed by hunger, poverty and health care, that is 25%. Then third was environmental sustainability, that is 12%, and rural development, that is 11%. Okay, in this way the Prime Minister Relief Fund has increased 139% more in CSR contribution. For example, recently, in recent past, you all have the experience of the COVID-19 pandemic, isn't it? So COVID-19 has been considered the global pandemic by WHO or World Health Organization, which we are facing in recent times. This virus has disrupted the socio-economic circumstances of the world, isn't it? Then lockdown was announced pan-India by the Indian government in March 2020. The extended lockdown worsened the economic conditions of the people and the business all over, isn't it? And the overpopulation and the lack of awareness added to the problems, which made the situation got worse from bad, isn't it? The condition became worsened. So the CSR policies of the companies played a major role here when people were trying to get through the challenging time without having any plans or ideas. So crores have been donated to various government funds by the companies. This is one example, best example of your CSR, corporate social responsibility. So when the government announced that any amount donated by companies in support of the fight against COVID-19 will qualify as CSR, many companies either contributed to the PM CARES fund or for various other purposes that contributed to protecting the health and preventing hunger of the affected people. Okay, so these were these are all for today's lecture. In today's lecture, okay. So here this video is completed. I hope you all understand it properly, okay. And you please make your own note, because I think the language which I have used is very simple and easy for your understanding. So today these are all, and next we will meet in another video with some new contents. Till then, bye bye and take care, okay. So before leaving this channel, I would like to request you, if till yet you have not subscribed my channel, so please subscribe, like and share my channel, and so that you will get the latest notification of my new upload, okay. So thank you all, bye and take care.